Hey, good morning, sir. How's everything?
All right. Let's see. Good, good. Excellent.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to do some last minute preparations for our town hall. You see, I got my collared shirt on today. I'm
Woo!
collaring the shirt today,
You
Trying
are Dr. White. It's a pleasure to meet you. Mike?
I think it's 200 and something registrants. I felt like
Yeah.
I needed to put a collared shirt on for that.
Well, this is not a collared shirt, but it's a slightly, it's not a t-shirt. It's got that little thing going on.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I had to go a break from the normal. Everybody's just seeing me in hoodies. I felt like, let me go ahead and put something else on. Let me do something else today. Let me surprise people.
You tell me what the dress code is. I'll show up. I draw the line at nude.
Yes.
But if you need me in a three-piece suit and a tie, and it's important and it will help the world be a better place, awesome. I don't need that, but whatever. All right. So it is a pleasure. I suspect everyone's going to show up in about 60 seconds or 120 seconds.
We'll see. We'll see.
Turn my things off for just a second here.
Hey, Jay, you're muted intentionally or what?
Hello, hello.
Hey, Mela. David.
Are you talking to the group, Jay, or are you on a separate call? Okay, I'll take that as a separate call.
All right, everybody. I believe that is the correct link for today. We can.
I think Mark is probably still on PTO, but I could be wrong here.
Did he sign himself in? Because
Oh no! Fake news! My bad.
Fake news. Fake news. Yeah, he signed himself in, or somebody copied and pasted his name by accident. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't see him on the call, so I'm going to put a -PTO question mark just to warn us that.
Oh, he just joined.
Oh, welcome! Excellent, Mark. We were afraid you weren't going to be here today.
Oh, no, I'm here, whether you want me or not.
We do want you.
Sorry, guys. I am double. I'm double booked as per usual on Thursday morning. So please excuse me.
No worries, Jay. I just wanted to make sure if you were talking to us, you knew you were on mute.
Yeah.
Yep, we got it. It looks like a presentation.
Oh, geez, I can't even lower the volume on it.
Mark, this is David Wheeler. Is it okay if I just quickly add to the agenda just a heads up about the survey?
Yeah, that's great. Anyone feel free to add agenda items. Just go right ahead. Okay, I think we should probably get started. The rate of incoming people is slowing down. So welcome everyone to our, I guess, quad weekly. What do you call it? Like every 4 weeks? I just updated the thing at the top because someone said, no, it's not on the 4th Thursday of the month. It's like, well, it's every 4 weeks. As a reminder, please sign in to the meeting notes to register your attendance. And as a reminder, we'll be following the Linux Foundation Code of Conduct. First, we could start by welcoming any new members. If you'd like to quickly say hi.
I don't think I've been to one of these before. Hi everyone, my name is Aditya. I'm one of the maintainers of Intoto, and yeah, I've been tracking a lot of the SLSA stuff from afar, and I hope to make it more of these.
Welcome. Welcome to this meeting, at least. I know we've met in a lot of Intoto meetings.
Yeah, hi, my name is Benjamin Schmidt. I'm a cybersecurity engineer from MITRE Corporation. Just signing on to hoping to get a deeper understanding of SLSA and everything that's going around that.
Great, welcome.
Hi, I'm Claudia Ring. I've been jumping into a lot of the SLSA meetings over the last few days. I'm from Active State.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thanks for joining everyone. We'll go through the special interest group updates, which as a reminder is the kind of like our working groups within SLSA, because SLSA is within the OpenSSF supply chain integrity working group. So like the subgroup is called special interest group. On the specification side, we put out a 1.0 release candidate and announced it on the blog. We're gathering feedback now. Thank you to everyone who's contributed, either with issues or pull requests or for sharing it. We're asking for feedback by March 24th to give us time to incorporate it, or to incorporate into the final version. And then looking to finalize that. And we still need to talk in the specification group about the exact timeline, but I think ideally end of the month, my guess is it'll probably go over a little bit, just from like the current number of issues and the rate of change, but we'll see. Right now, there's a lot of pull requests going on around organization, clarity, simplification, etc. For example, one of the things that we recently decided was to version all the things together. Right now, we have technically three different specifications: Provenance, VSA, and SLSA, each with an independent version number, like things like that, to just kind of reduce confusion, use consistent terminology throughout, etc. So that's what we're actively working on now, among other things. I know there's a lot of content feedback issues being discussed, like I think, for example, around isolation and ephemeral, etc. And hopefully we'll get to those probably next week, I think. So far, I haven't seen any major feedback that was like, I think the tracks are a bad idea, or something like that. Certainly, any feedback major like that would be welcome. I'd rather hear about it now than like to just silently think, oh no, this was a bad idea. But it's seeming like there wouldn't be any major changes to the spec for the final version, as far as I can tell. And if anyone disagrees or has other opinions, please speak up. I think that's anything else I'm missing on the specification side? Okay, I'll take the silence as a no. If you think of anything, just feel free to chime in. Positioning?
Just quickly on specification, I'm sorry, I was getting myself off of mute. Just related to that, as we reach the 1.0 stable milestone, there's a separate thread of work around comms and how we're going to coordinate that. So Jennifer Bly from the OpenSSF kicked off a cross-company 1.0 comms planning call yesterday and is driving that forward. And so that stuff is in process, gathering quotes, coming up with a comms distribution plan, the TikTok of how these things are going to roll out during the day, and so on. And so there's a separate thread there.
So for positioning, as Isaac said, there's a SLSA comms 1.0 planning. SLSA positioning, as of about a month ago, is now SCI positioning. So SLSA is just a component of our positioning group, along with S2C2F and Fresca. So I changed the link for the positioning. A lot was done in the past couple of weeks. Comms being one of them. We're having some blogs in process to coordinate with the 1.0 release. And then also, we did get 2 of our group's talks accepted for OSSNA Vancouver. 2 were waitlisted, and these were the ones that were submitted by the group, not necessarily others in SLSA. But there is one talk that we're going to need help with. One that was accepted was really for Fresca demo of how real time can you show a SLSA build level 2 or 3 at the conference, right? With participants and potentially even them having their laptops along to follow along with the sample project. According to Mike, there's been some reshuffling of resources in Fresca where they may not be able to contribute anymore. And so now we are at a bad point in time where we really need those devs now more than ever. So if people have development resources to help build that kind of demo/lab out for participants in OSSNA, we would really, really appreciate the help.
Yeah, just to provide a couple little other points there. Yeah, so Fresca is an OpenSSF project. It does high level SLSA. It uses uses a bunch of LF projects like the CD Foundations, Tecton and Tecton chains. It uses a bunch of other stuff, combines it all together to make kind of a secure build system. I think one of the things that has come up before is, there's folks who can't necessarily just use pure GitHub, or they want to run their own thing or better understand some of this, and that's kind of what Fresca kind of came out of. Yeah, due to some reshuffling among some of the folks who are also maintainers other than myself on Fresca, they've kind of gotten deprioritized a little bit. So it is kind of, I would say, I'm kind of one of the one maintainers left on Fresca. There's a few others, but they're not able to contribute that much. And so we're definitely looking for more folks on that and to kind of go through that. But then there's also a separate thing, which I think is also something that we should kind of look at, which is, most folks are not moving off of their CI systems. So like if folks are using Jenkins, they want to continue using Jenkins. So I think some of the other stuff that we're looking at long-term is like, how can we, or do we need to draw the line in the sand and say certain other CI systems maybe just aren't suitable for high-level SLSA stuff.
Is that from feedback from open source projects or from like companies using it, or a mix of both?
A mix of both. A lot of open source a lot of open source projects right now are just comfortable using GitHub and GitHub Actions. There's been a couple of discussions about, hey, for very complicated projects where something like a simple GitHub action isn't going to work, something like Fresca can come in and help out there. But Fresca is still very much like it's pre-beta at this point. It can do a lot of this sort of stuff, but it's not necessarily the easiest thing to use. And we have a bunch of things on our roadmap to kind of do that. And on that front, I have a big sort of like, what is Fresca refresher sort of for something like the OpenSSF blog and so on, to try and drive up maintainership, but just throwing that out there, just due to some shifts in priorities from some of the other companies who have been working on us with Fresca, that some of the maintainers have been reprioritized to other things.
Oh, and I guess it's also worth mentioning that NPM, the JavaScript packaging ecosystem, is having a private beta right now of basically SLSA, like having propagating provenance with alongside the package and generating it automatically with tooling and having like some sort of verification. So that's ongoing, and I think, I'm not sure what the timeline is for the public beta, but that's on the open source ecosystem side, that there's some progress being made there. And Michael.
And one other thing, just as don't want to completely change topics, but so I also have hold on, let me bring this up here into the chat. It's very short. I haven't finished it completely yet, but definitely looking for feedback on a blog article regarding like why we split stuff up into the different tracks. Definitely looking for feedback on that. It's I don't have enough time to make something much more comprehensive, but I think it's like at least an initial start. And if folks have suggestions about like things I should be adding, I can definitely add in stuff there. Nicholas?
Yes, I have a question regarding specification. Before the final 1.0 release, do we plan to change the way we navigate into the specification? I saw that some PR regarding that, but currently it's not easy with because you always go back to the 0.2 or 0.1 spec, and it's not easy to read.
Yes, it is nice. It annoys me too. I have a pull request I'm going to send out once there's a current one that's doing a little bit of reorganization. Once that's submitted, I'm going to send it out today. Yeah, because it just drives me insane. It always jumps back to the wrong version. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anything else on SIG updates? I also noted Michael's request for feedback on the doc. David?
Whoops. Okay, so let's see. So I wanted to just give everybody a brief heads up about this survey that came out. It says it's a SLSA survey, but in many ways it's really a supply chain survey, but using SLSA 0.1 as a baseline. So, you know, basically, and it had some, frankly, I think some surprising feedback. You know, I've put two of them right here. You can see the summary and the report for details. But basically, most of the practices were considered helpful. I think that's good. Some of the practices were considered substantially more difficult than others. Zero surprise there. Hermetic builds and reproducible builds in particular are the hardest. And yet, when asked, well, what are you actually doing? There wasn't any statistical difference. I'm not entirely sure how to interpret that. I'm going to interpret that for the moment. I'm interpreting it as some are harder, but not so hard that they make people who are very interested in countering attacks that not enough to prevent them from doing it anyway, even though they're considered harder. Maybe there's other ways to interpret this, but I found that intriguing. So anyway, there's the blog post. It links to the full report. Enjoy.
Thanks. Any other topics or questions that would be worth discussing in a group? Yeah, Michael.
Oh, I think so a couple of updates from tooling. Just to bring that up. In the notes, I put in a 1.0 tracking issue. Feel free to add in additional tools or ping me if you want additional tools added, whatever added to the issue around tools that are planning to add 1.0 support, or there's open issues for 1.0 support. So I added in a handful of tools. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch. So feel free to add stuff in there. We're looking to kind of see, you know, we're looking to at least have some tracking issues for the 1.0 support. The next thing on that note as well is, one second, where did I put the note? Something here. One was there's some discussion around a distribution spec for something like how should folks distribute SLSA provenance from something like a packaging ecosystem. This is not intended to be like a declarative, thou shalt do this, but one of the things that has been discussed is it would be really nice if, you know, you could have consistent consumer side tooling around some of these things. And I know there's a lot of different work on this front. It's more just, hey, can we help coordinate with some of these groups that might be doing this, like NPM, like PyPI, like GEMS and so on, and not saying that they should all implement the exact same thing, but if they sort of followed similar rules, then it could help with some of the client-side tooling when it comes to implementation. Haven't gotten a lot of traction on that, but we're looking to kind of continue the conversation on that front. And then finally, we're also looking at perhaps having something like some basic 1.0 helper libraries, either before 1.0 or post 1.0, to help tools that are either consuming or producing SLSA to make sure of stuff like SLSA provenance spec validation, like are you actually following the rules of the spec in stuff like Go, Rust, Python, whatever. Libraries that folks can consume, as well as maybe some other helper things to help out some of the other tools that are out there. And most of that work can probably be pulled out of some of the stuff that's already in stuff like the SLSA GitHub generator and the SLSA verifier and those sorts of tools, but wanted to throw that out there. Arno?
Yeah, hi. So just to follow up on what Mike was saying regarding to regarding the tools that will support SLSA, there is on SLSA Dev, the website, get started page that was recently revamped. And it's mostly focusing on freely available tools, namely Fresca and the GitHub salsa generator. But there is at the end of the page a little table that is open for people to add. The idea is to, a list of tools that claim to be salsa compliant to whatever level. This is part of the information that's recorded. And there is work underway to develop a conformance program where they'll be able to have certification with a little bit of more legal framework around it. For now, it's merely based on, self-claims, but it's meant to be open and to provide people who are starting some pointers as to which tools are available out there. I think you're next, Mark.
Yep. So, Mike, do you have a link to the API, the distribution API work?
So there's no work on it. It's just literally the salsa tooling notes. So yeah, it's mostly just some, a few high level things. And then for what Dustin said, yeah. So I went to the securing working groups. I think it's the APAC friendly one. I need to still go to the earlier one, for me at least, EMEA one. So I have plans to go to that one as well. And so yeah, before kind of doing anything, I think the only high level, and I think it should be in those notes, but the high level guidelines would be something like, can we follow some general best practices? And assuming we can also some of these groups kind of have some, like a handful of like ways to sort of approach it, because not everybody's going to say, yeah, we can have a REST API or whatever that can do, with these specific endpoints. But if a handful of them can do that, then it sort of simplifies, I think, client consumer stuff quite a lot.
Yeah, and I linked in the notes. Dustin also started a pull request to add a distributing provenance page in spec, which is less specific than an API, but is starting on like general guidelines for how, basically recommendations for how to distribute provenance. For example, like the notion that there's like releases and artifacts within a release, and that provenance would be attached to an artifact, et cetera. So if you haven't seen that and you're interested in the space, that would also be good to align as well. But by the way, there was a comment, I think from Nicola, about just navigation. If any sort of issues like that, if you have issues, even if they're small, please do just file issues to track. Happy to hear those, whether they're big issues or small issues. It's helpful having that feedback for prioritization.
And obviously, the sooner the better.
Yes, that too. Although some things like navigation is not really tied to a specific version, and so but it's nice to have it in for the 1.0.
For the spec, I was thinking, if people find issues in the spec, it's better not to bring them up on the last day.
Yeah. Any other topics? Going once, going twice. Okay, it looks like we can end early. Thank you, everyone. By next meeting, we should have a 1.0 published, and so a lot of this work should be happening. As always, if you want to join in any of the specific working groups, you could join on Slack, openssf.slack.com. There's like a salsa group. It's also on salsa.dev/community. And certainly everyone's welcome in any of these groups and any pull requests or issues or implementation work. Yeah, that's also specification for the spec work. There's also tooling for implementing tooling, and what is now called SCI positioning for the broader positioning works. So, all right, thanks everyone. Good seeing you, and we'll talk again probably online and meet again in the next 4 weeks. Bye everyone.